right? Okay. So hopefully that helps. That's helped you understand. Okay. We shall leave it there. Okay, actually, we might just give you a little look at this. You have a look at it. Can do a video on it later on if you want us to. Okay. I think maybe we've covered enough of this particular one. Here's another name of, or title, sorry, of God. El, ever present, timeless, infinite, eternal God. That's what Christ utters from the cross. El, lama shrikhani. Yeah. And maybe another book he might say Eloi, Eloi, but he was speaking Galilean Aramaic. And that's what he cried out, which doesn't mean my God, why have you forsaken me? That's a second or third transliteration of the Arabic Greek. It's a bad translation, bad transliteration, because wherefore implies destiny. It does not mean my God, why have you forsaken me? Because apparently in the Old Testament, etc., there's verses that says God will never leave you or forsake you. He doesn't forsake anyone. Okay. What's this? In the Catholic New American Bible, the God of Nahor, that's Abraham's brother, I think, is in lowercase, translated as God of Nahor. In the Jehovah's Witnesses newer translation of the scriptures, both references to God are in lowercase, i.e. the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor. In the Protestant translations, however, both references to God are capitalized. But despite that, the Protestant interpretation is the same as the Catholic interpretation. In other words, if somebody says that they believe in God, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's talking about the same God that somebody else believes in. So anybody can use the word God capitalized and still be talking of a different God. It becomes a matter of semantics. The fact is that since Protestants don't even admit to the fact that the scriptures were all recorded originally in the ancient Aramaic, the whole interpretation of the words in the scriptures is academic. And even though the Protestants don't accept the Catholic translations of the Bible as being free of error, they go along with the claim that the original Bible was first recorded in Greek. The Catholic Church claims, however, that most of the Old Testament was recorded in Hebrew, with the exception of a few books that were recorded in Aramaic, and that the New Testament was recorded in Greek, and some of it even in Latin. None of the churches accept the fact that the ancient Aramaic is the original. These contradictions in the translation of this passage, Genesis 31:53, however, have major implications in the way that Western churches regard the Eastern churches in their ancient scriptures, and so forth. Nazareth was called Nusrat, Nussrat. Here has Jesus the Nazarene is Ashur. You might find this word in the pantheon of the Sumerians, one of the many gods. So it could have been adapted from there. Not really sure on that one. Just a thought. Before the commandments were given to Moses, sin had to be defined. Although it's true that God wrote the commandments over the hearts of men and women before the beginning of creation, one of Scripture's purposes was to record the transgressions that would be addressed by the commandments. Thus Paul writes that if there was no law, then sin would not be recognized as sin. Okay, and some errors in the Western Bibles in regard to Tamar, calling her a prostitute, a temple prostitute. What temple was that referring to? If Judah was a pagan, then the line of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David and Jesus is broken. But that cannot be. The whole New Testament depends on this line being unbroken. Was Western Christianity trying to justify Tamar's act of prostitution by calling her a temple harlot? Or were they trying to discriminate against the Jews as early pagans, and therefore destined only for one purpose, and that being crucifying Jesus Christ? Then the Gentiles, or the nations, could own the title, the Jews, who indeed to Christianity, while simultaneously divesting themselves of prostitution, paganism and the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So then Jesus Christ really could not have died for the Jews who crucified him, but rather for the Gentiles who accepted him. Thus, with the insertion of the word temple before the word prostitute, scriptures were falsified again by the Western churches. They falsified the fact that Jesus Christ's death was for the sins of prostitution, murder and so forth of all people who commit these sins, and not just for the sins of the Gentiles. And there's more there. Hope you're finding this interesting. This is Isaiah 3. This chapter reveals the nature of the times when the Messiah arrives in Judea and Jerusalem. It speaks of the humble circumstances and the mood of the people when not all will receive him, because he won't be coming as a conquering hero in a worldly sense. Yeah, he wasn't coming. Well, they had supposedly a Messiah, Simon, I've forgotten the other word, Perea or something like that, who ended up getting killed by the Romans in a skirmish. They, the people were looking for him, this particular Simon, to revolt against Rome and beat them, defeat them, but unfortunately he got cornered and was decapitated or something. So they thought Christ, being the second Messiah, or being this new Messiah, would do the same, but as he said, he didn't come to do that. They really wanted a Messiah, a leader to rise up and give Israel back to the Jews, conquer the Romans, kick them out, so Israel would be for Israel again. Okay, so this chapter reveals the nature of the times when the Messiah arrives in Judea and Jerusalem. It speaks of the humble circumstances and the mood of the people when not all will receive him, because he won't be coming as a conquering hero in a worldly sense. That the established religious order will rebel, and from the youth shall be elected those that will give testimony as being prophesied. To be sure, the Messiah arrives at a time when Judea is a conquering nation. The times will be turbulent, but the royalty and the religious leadership will make their peace with the Roman conquerors. While they will hold on to their positions of power, they will not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. That's why they didn't like him, because he was a threat to their authority, their power, their pompousness, them being rich, wearing the best clothes and sitting in the best position at meetings and in the temple and big feasts, having trumpets blown every time they walk down the street, sort of thing. Take notice, we are walking down the street. Isaiah chapter 8, 21-22. These two verses refer to Jesus and his ascension to heaven and the ages that follow. In the modern church translation, these verses are translated in error and placed where they make a different point. At some point, the translators decided to deliberately mislead the faithful. Later, the dislocation of these verses demonstrates the typical misinterpretation and distortion of the scriptures. The other church translations move these verses of chapter 8 to chapter 9 to give them a different interpretation. So they are out to fool everybody, right? These are also efforts to distort the truth regarding the king of Ashur. Okay. So he was a man and he was a king, okay, that existed, but it was a title of theirs for God, the one true God. Oh well, firstly a pantheon of gods. He was one of a pantheon, and then later on, probably in the Neo Aramaic era, he suddenly becomes the one true God, right, with that name, Ashur. So that's why you have Ahaya Asher Ahayah. Ashur, not Asher. You have to be very careful. People are misleading people. Okay. Ashur is simply the name for God in the Ashurite language. So there it is there, right there. Ashur from the Ashurite language. Ashurai, not Asher. Yeah. So again, be very, very careful. People are deceiving you. Okay. So hopefully you like that. Have a good read of it again in your own time, in your own leisure. Okay. And we will see you on the next video.